I'm going to get right into this today. So, what I'm going to be working on with you guys today is I'm going to teach you how our people first sales approach is going to get you the 6 and 7 figure income that you want in real estate, possibly even without investing in any new technology, new lead sources, or staff. And I'm going to peel back the curtain on our people first sales approach today and give you a sample of our frameworks, specifically our seller frameworks, to help you book more listing appointments. But there's no way that I can teach you everything that you need to know in 50 minutes. That's just not, it's not realistic. It doesn't make sense. So for those of you who know this is the path to your success once you see it, the only thing that I can do at the end is offer you our 12-week boot camp. If it's not for you, no hard feelings. Sound good? If that's fair, chat in yes. Okay, good. So here's what we're working on today, everybody. What our people first approach is in terms of sales scripting, dialogue, how you talk to people, sales skills, how to apply it to any conversation, and then underneath that, why sellers say no to meeting with you. Who wants to know about why sellers say no to meeting with you? Chat in me. We're going to talk about logical versus illogical appointment requests. And we're going to talk about levels of readiness, and I'll explain what that means. And then, well, we missed a couple of bullet points down here, but once I get through these with you today, then I can talk to you about the 12-week boot camp if you're interested in signing up and doing some additional training with us. Okay, so first, how I discovered the power of a people first approach. For those of you who don't know this, I never wanted to be in sales. I had no intention of going into sales. I didn't like salespeople. I didn't want to be a salesperson. I went to art school. I was a sculptor, glass blower, painter. I'm a visual artist, 3D kind of guy. And I mean, in middle school, I was so shy that I wouldn't even eat in public by myself. This is how crazy it is. How crazy it is now that I get on stage and speak in front of people and do webinars all the time, and that I'm a sales trainer and have a 7-figure sales training business. It's absolutely ridiculous. But the point is that I never intended to do this. I didn't want to be a real estate agent. I was working as a designer. I was doing a lot of work, I wasn't getting more work, or I wasn't getting more money for the more work that I was doing. And anytime I did more work, they just put more work on my plate. And I just wanted to make more money, really, is what it was when I first got into the business. And I saw all these real estate people. They looked like they were having a great time, like it was so easy that they just, made their own schedules, made tons of money, and they were kind of free. And I wanted to be free too. And so I got into real estate. Again, not wanting to be a sales. This is how dumb I was. I didn't want to be a salesperson. I didn't realize how much this business was about sales. And so I get into real estate thinking I'm going to control my own schedule. I could just sell some houses, make a ton of money, work part-time. And it did not work out that way. It turns out this business is way harder than that, right? And so once I got in, I'm like, oh my God, I got to like talk to these people and get them to list their home with me, get them to buy a home with me. And it turned out that this business is really hard. And I didn't have any formal sales training before that. And so I go to my broker, and of course, they just give me some of those crappy scripts that every broker gives you. The ones, the ones that look like they were downloaded off the internet and then Xeroxed or ran through a copy machine. They give you those, and they're like, here you go, kid. Let me know when you get something, right? If you've experienced that, chat in me. Yeah, right. So I go and I do it, right? I don't have anything else to do. I'm not trying to go get another job. So I take the crappy scripts. I have some conversations. I start calling FISBOs, expireds, door knocking, circle prospecting. I try the whole thing. And I get a couple of deals, but it's not really going anywhere. And I'm really struggling. I'm not making any money. So then I go sign up with one of those mainstream coaching companies that's still out there today. I'm not going to name who, but they're all pretty much the same. And so they put me through their system. They give me their slightly less crappy scripts. And, they say, hey, go out there and say this stuff to these people and, just hammer them through the phone, browbeat them, make them wrong if they won't meet with you, then get into their house and not leave their couch until they sign your papers. I said, okay. So I went and did it and I did better. I sold some more houses, but honestly, it just didn't feel comfortable. I didn't like it. I didn't like having those kind of conversations with people. I didn't like having to beat people up all the time. And I didn't like getting beat up all the time. I'm a nice guy. Like I like people. Um, but I did it. It worked out okay. And then, at a certain point, I became a sales manager and I needed to lead and teach other people how to do this kind of sales. And not only learning how to be a better salesperson, but also learning how to be a better leader and a happier leader and how I could help other people. I went through this transition of personal development and learning about how people think and how they work because at this point I went from being able to do it okay on my own to having to try to achieve through other people, having to teach other people how to do it and how to achieve through them. And so like I said, I went through this journey of personal development and learning really how people think and how they feel. And I discovered that, the scripts that I had been given and that I was working from were really adversarial. It was kind of like me versus them. And it was like a cat and mouse kind of game. And, I felt upset if they wouldn't work with me or didn't work with me or wouldn't meet with me or worked with somebody else. And then I went through this, like I said, process of personal transformation and really started to understand how people think. And not just how salespeople think, but how consumers think, how all of us think, right? And what motivates us, what we want, what we don't want. And, I learned things, principles like seek first to be understood or seek first to understand before being understood, that all people want to be loved and validated and understood. And everyone believes that they're right and true and good, or at least wants to. So these kind of core principles that literally have been around since the days of, since, you know, prehistoric times or, way back in the day, not prehistoric, what is it? Like before the biblical times. We're talking like the Stoics back in the day. So these have been a common or a known trait of humanity in learning these principles. And so I brought them into the sales process, into the sales conversations that we were having. And it really made a massive difference in my ability to get into a conversation with people, overcome objections, unpack them, have good conversations with them, close them for appointments, get them to sign, get them to stay with me through the process, get them to reduce, get them to write a proper offer, get them unstuck when they were stuck in a transaction where they were being stubborn or wouldn't move forward. And not only did it give me a lot more success in being able to convert leads and be able to stack business up, but it helped. I mean, to the point that like my partners and I were able to scale a real estate team to over 650 transactions per year, which is huge. And I was able to take on average 5 to 7 listings per month. So it made a massive impact. But it felt more comfortable doing it. It wasn't hard. It wasn't difficult. Not only that, not only did it help me personally in my own achievements, but being able to teach other agents how to do this, to be able to teach them how to comfortably uh, be able to produce 36 transactions, 48 transactions, 60 transactions in their first 12 months. That's huge. That's an amazing accomplishment for somebody to be able to do that because you all know this business is hard. It can be very hard. And when you're kind of lost in it and confused in it and not sure what to do, there's a million things you could be doing at any one time. And if you're not doing them the right way, it doesn't seem to produce business for you. So this is where this people first orientation or people first sales approach really got developed and where I figured it out and used it. And so what am I talking about with a people first approach? I'm going to show you how it works really, and how you can apply it to any conversation first. And then I'm going to show you a couple of seller frameworks. And like I said, I can't show you everything today because we only have an hour together. But at the end of this, if you want to jump into the 12-week boot camp, you can get access to all of the frameworks and how you can apply them to your leads and the appointments that you're trying to set. So here's how to apply this people first approach to any conversation. Let me tell you a quick story about, I'll give you an example even outside of real estate, right? So my daughter, before she was diagnosed with severe ADHD, was really struggling in school. She couldn't focus. She couldn't answer the questions when the teacher called on her in class. So she felt out of place. She was always trying to figure out what was going on. She was always a little lost, wasn't keeping up with her classmates. And, for a young girl, that's really upsetting. And so we finally get her diagnosed and everything, and it turns out to be severe ADHD. Now that she's been medicated, it's completely different. She loves school. She can do her homework. She's a straight A student. She's no longer saying, she doesn't avoid school anymore, doesn't have the stomach aches in the morning. So she wants to go. She likes it. She prides herself on that stuff. But the key is having that ADHD medication. And I'm not sure if any of you have dealt with ADHD or the medication that you need, if you use medication and the issues around that. But, ADHD medication, there's a couple of problems. And one of the problems is that it's a stimulant for people who do, it's a stimulant, period. And for people who don't have ADHD, it's an upper, right? It's like speed or maybe even like cocaine or something like that for people who don't have the disease. Um, for my daughter, it just calms her down and allows her to focus. But for people that don't have it, it's some people use it as a recreational drug. So you've got people out there that are that are abusing this drug, that are stealing the drug, that are getting fake prescriptions to use the drug, like breaking into places to get it. And on top of it, the government, of course, who doesn't want us to run around being drug addicts, caps the production of ADHD medication. You can only produce so much of it. You can only prescribe so much of it at any one time. You can only prescribe 30 days worth of the medication up front. And so what we started to experience is these rolling shortages of ADHD medication because physicians are getting better at recognizing it and diagnosing it in adults and children and writing more prescriptions. People are abusing it, stealing it, getting fake prescriptions, and the government's capping production or throttling the production of it. So, what's happening is, or what was happening is, we would have these shortages and they wouldn't be able to fill the pills. And so, I would have the prescription sent down to the regular pharmacy, and we would call and they'd say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I only have 7 pills this month." Or worst case scenario, they say, "I don't have any." And so I go to the doctor. I'm like, "Doctor, what are we supposed to do?" And they said, "Well, you have to call around and you have to find other pharmacies where we can send your prescription to get it filled." I'm like, "Okay." So I start calling around these pharmacies. And by the time you get through their phone tree, first of all, which takes a while, and you finally get somebody on the phone, they say, "Hey, this is Acme Pharmacy. How can I help you?" And I would say, "Yeah, I need to find out if you have a medication. We have a prescription for dexmethylphenidate 15 milligram extended release." And the problem is what started happening as I'm calling around is a lot of these pharmacists would say, "I'm sorry, sir, but it's company policy. I can't tell you that over the phone. You'll have to send the prescription here for us to fill it." And and then to me, in my mind, I'm like, I don't have time to be sending these prescriptions all over the place. If you don't have it, then it burns at 2 hours of my day just to get a prescription sent to you. Then I have to wait a couple days to find out that you can't fill it. And then I have to go and call again more places. And this whole thing, I can't do that. I have a business to run and my daughter has to go to school. So I go back to the doctor. I'm like, "Doctor, these pharmacists are not telling me whether they have this. A lot of them are out of it. They're not telling me whether they have it. What can I do?" Doctor says, "I'm sorry, everybody's dealing with this. You're going to have to go back and you're going to have to call more places." So now I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? I can't just be calling these places all the time. I have a business to run and my daughter needs this medication. Like she's going to not be able to function in school and she's going to fail out and start smoking cigarettes or riding motorcycles, right? I'm literally freaking out at this point. So then I was like, wait a minute. This whole people first thing, let's see if we can apply this methodology to figuring out whether or not these people can fill my daughter's prescription. So the next month, when I have to call around to these evil pharmacists and ask them if they have this drug, I change the script up. This time when I call, I say, "Hi, my daughter has a prescription for dexmethylphenidate 15 milligram extended release from Children's Hospital. Her regular pharmacy is out. Should I have them send the prescription to you to be filled?" Do you know what every one of these evil pharmacists said to me? They said, "Hold on, sir. Let me check for you." This is the massive difference that a people first orientation sales process, that approaching it from this way in any conversation will make a massive difference for you. It's just words. It's words and the order that you put them in. And if you haven't been getting what you want, you haven't been putting the words in the right order and delivering it to the right people. So it works. It works for getting medication, right? So let's break this down. In this conversation around, I need to get this prescription filled. Do you have this? I'm sorry, sir, I can't tell you this, right? Let's just look at the two different perspectives. So this is kind of the way that we approach having sales conversations. And frankly, any kind of conversation where you need to get a result from somebody or an action or a decision. So what did I want in this conversation? I wanted to know if they had the right drug to fill our prescription. I didn't want to waste my time going through the prescription submission process if they can't fill it. And I needed to get my daughter's medicine quickly and completely, right? But, if we're also going to look at the other perspective, what does the pharmacist want in this scenario? The pharmacist wants to help people with legitimate needs. They want to do a good job, generally speaking. They want to avoid violating good work protocols, which is why they wouldn't tell me whether they had it or not. And they wanted to avoid endangering coworkers and avoid enabling drug addiction and crime. Okay? So we're looking at these two different perspectives here between what I needed and wanted and what they needed and wanted. So let's look at the script that I used. Here's the script. Pharmacist answers, right? Hello, this is Average Pharmacy. How can I help you? Hi, I need to find out if you have a medication in stock. We have a prescription for dexmethylphenidate, 15 milligram extended release. I'm sorry, sir, it's company policy. We can't answer that question. You'll have to submit your prescription and we'll see if we can fill it. Okay, now, let's think about this. If we know that the pharmacist they have these rules, they're trying to uphold them, they're trying to avoid, furthering drug addiction and any safety issues, they're trying to avoid getting in trouble. That's all understandable. How did I approach this? When I presented this script to them, who was it for? Who was this information going to be for? It was going to be for me, right? Some random guy who called them up out of the blue. It was going to be for me. For what reason were they going to give me the answer or not give me the answer to whether they had this medication or not? Was there any reason here? A very thin reason. Because I have a prescription, right? I have a prescription for this very specific medication that's a Schedule II drug that you're not allowed to tell people whether you have or not, and I'm just some random guy who called you. How compelling would it be to you to answer this, to break protocol, to risk your coworker's safety, to potentially get in trouble, to answer this question? Or was it just easier to say no? Chat it in for me. Was it just easier to say no? Can you see how easy it was to say no to this? Much easier to say no to this, right? So let's look at what we changed then. Remember, this was for me. There was no good reason. It was just that we had a prescription. There's nothing compelling about this. So when I thought about this and I thought, what does this pharmacist want? Where's their mindset at? Did I give them a good reason for doing this? And actually, here's where the epiphany was around just this little scripting part that I actually used in real life. Was I thought, I literally, when I was upset that they wouldn't tell me, I was like, don't they know it's for my daughter? Don't they know that she needs this medication? Don't they know how important this is to her and her development? And that's when the light bulb went off. I was like, these people don't have a good enough reason to violate protocol, to take a risk, to stick their neck out for some random stranger when the process is submit your prescription and we will fill it or not fill it. So here's how I changed that script, right? Hello, this is Average Pharmacy. Can I help you? Hi, my daughter, it's for my daughter, right? A child, a female. So not the dude's voice that you hear coming across the phone. It's for a young girl. Has a prescription from a higher power children's hospital, right? Reinforcing the kid, higher power for the same drug, dexmethylphenidate, 15 milligram extended release. Her regular pharmacy is out. This is the why do I need this information? Why should you tell me this information? And then here's the key point. One of the key points is if you notice in this bad script, it was tell me whether you have this drug, right? That was the question. Tell me whether you have this drug. I changed the question slightly. Should I send the prescription to you? Not do you have the drug? Should I send the prescription to you? Right? Do you guys get the subtle difference? So now the pharmacist can potentially answer if you catch them and they don't realize what they're doing. They can answer the should I send the prescription question to you and still not technically answer we have the drug. Do you guys get that concept? Yes or no? Chat it in for me. Yes, right? Good. This is, it's words, people. It's the words and it's the order that it was put in. Because we're working from this people first perspective, what do they think? What do they want? What do they not want? What do they want to avoid? What could they say yes to or maybe to? What could they agree to? This makes a massive difference. If this is helpful, chat in yes. I just want to get some feedback, see if you guys like this. Okay, good. So, and I'm using this outside of real estate for a very specific reason, because I'm just showing you that you can apply this kind of premise, you can apply this kind of approach to any conversations that you have. Guess what? This will work magic with your kids, with your spouse, with your friends, with your neighbor once you learn how to do this stuff. Oh, and guess what? You can make a lot of money in sales doing this too. So it's not just about real estate sales. It's about how you communicate, how you present, how you show up. And it's easy to do. I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. So let's first see how we can apply some of this to our seller appointment frameworks. So obviously within my company, we've got seller frameworks, buyer frameworks, appointments, value prop, how to get into a conversation, and an endless number of objection frameworks. Part of the thing that I forgot to mention when I struggled at first getting into real estate was that the crappy scripts from my broker just didn't work for me. They weren't me. They didn't sound like me. They didn't make sense. I wasn't going to say that to other people. And I couldn't memorize all that stuff either. And then even when I moved on to going into a coaching company, a lot of the old school scripting and dialogue that gets taught and trained in our industry from the big well-known coaching companies is adversarial. It's me versus you, right? It's not collaborative. And again, it doesn't sound anything like me. They don't teach you how to create conversation on the fly. They don't teach you how to understand where you're at in any conversation and just come up with it in the moment. They don't teach you how to be collaborative with people. It's still adversarial. So I'm just going to show you some of these seller frameworks, and I'm going to help you understand why you're not getting the appointments that you want, why they're rejecting you. And this is really kind of the start of the things that you have to understand in order to improve how you're asking for appointments. So here's the three frameworks: why sellers say no to meeting with you, logical versus illogical appointment requests, and I'll explain what that means, and levels of readiness. So first off, why sellers say no to meeting with you. And I want to do this little exercise with you. Let's say that it's a warm summer day, right? And you've got some time to kill. You're waiting for your dry cleaning to be ready or to pick up some order that you shipped somewhere, whatever it is, right? There just happens to be a nice car dealership next door with all these beautiful, shiny cars outside. You have no intention of buying a car today. You have no budget to buy a car today. You don't need a car. You don't want a car. You don't have a budget for a car. It's not going to happen today. But you're going to go walk around there anyway, right? So you go walking around, you're looking at the cars, and you see this guy. This guy starts to approach you. This is Jeff. Jeff sells cars. I want you to chat in for me. What is Jeff's purpose? Chat it in. What is Jeff's purpose? To sell a car. To sell a car. Keep going. That's pretty much it. Here's what I can tell you. Everybody always says to sell you a car, right? It's even on the slide. How do I know that you're going to say to sell a car? How did I know that you were going to say to sell a car? Because this is human nature. Every one of you that thought or said sell a car looked at him as from the perspective of a consumer. You reduced Jeff down to one single purpose, one single idea. Do you get that point? You reduced him down to the sole purpose of selling a car. Not that not that he's a transportation consultant, not that he wants to build a relationship with you and give a shit about you and your family or your needs or anything like that. You reduced him down to selling a car. This is a very pivotal and important concept for you to understand, and it will help you improve your sales skills immensely if you can remember it. Okay, so we just reduced Jeff down to a single concept. Your prospects, potential sellers, potential buyers, potential referrers boil you down to one concept too. They boil you down to sell a house, buy a house, or be ready to sell or ready to buy. But you're like, but Dale, when I ask them for an appointment, it's not like that. I'm not just trying to sell their house. I could take any of these things, right? I just want to get a face-to-face with them ahead of time to build rapport. Or I want to give advice on the selling process just to help them. I want to see their home for my own inventory knowledge just to have an idea what might be coming up. It'd be great if I could get an agreement to pay me if a buyer purchases their home. And listen, the holy grail is get an exclusive right to sell contract for several months, right? Everybody, aren't any one of these are fine, right? Isn't this what we're looking for in any conversation that we have? Now, if you're less experienced, you're probably only like, no, Dale, I only want to talk to people who are ready to sell their house. Well, spoiler, not everybody's ready to sell their house immediately. And the more people that you can stack up in any of these levels, the more closings you're going to end up with. But these are the things that we want. What does a seller hear when they're talking to us? The reason they say no, what they hear from us or what they think of us is they should only talk to us when they're definitely ready to sell and move, or they're ready to advertise their homes, or they're ready to choose us as an agent. How many times have you talked to a prospect where you definitely could feel that they were resistant to talking to you, and almost like just because they were talking to you, it was like they were being forced to make the decision whether to use you or not? Chat in me if you've ever had those kind of conversations where you can tell that just by talking to the person, they thought they were being pressed to decide whether you were the agent or not. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy, but it's reality, and you have to learn, or this people first approach never lets you forget that. It makes it easy to remember that. It makes it easy to deal with that. They also think that they have to be ready to have buyers look at their home just by talking to you and know where they're going to move next or chosen the area or even a new home. So this is the perspective that a lot of them have. Just like when I asked you, what's Jeff's purpose? And you said to sell a car. This is what these people think your purpose is. So here's a principle. You might want to write this down. You must change what you and your meeting represents in order to go from no to yes. You have to change what your meeting is or what it represents to them. Because if you don't, the only people you're going to get an appointment with are the ones who are ready to sell now and ready to list with you. If you can only get appointments with people who are ready to sell now and ready to choose you, you're going to do a lot fewer deals. You're going to have a lot fewer meetings. It's one of the reasons that you struggle to get appointments right now. Okay, let's talk about logical versus illogical. What do I mean by that? A logical ask, this is how it works, and this is the way that I remember it. An appointment should be the logical conclusion to the conversation you just had, if that makes sense. The ask for an appointment or a next step or a decision should be the logical conclusion to the conversation you just had. And I'm going to show you what illogical looks like. Illogical would be if you asked for an appointment or a decision or a move forward after, if it just came out of the blue in the conversation, right? We had no conversation about, we weren't heading toward an appointment. We weren't, there was no need in the conversation for an appointment. Or if somebody said, I'm not ready to list, I know what my house is worth, I'm not ready to meet with an agent, we'll let you know when we're ready. If you then ask for an appointment or pitch for an appointment, that is the worst thing to do. That's the opposite thing to do. And what I've noticed is that a lot of more inexperienced salespeople, as I've been doing this training, and myself even, I went through this too, is asking for, if you don't know any better and somebody says no, but you're supposed to sell and you're supposed to ask, then you just ask again. And then they're like, well, didn't you just hear me say no? And you're like, oh God, what do I do now? I've been through that too. And so this system teaches you what to do instead, how to move past, I know what my house is worth, need to meet, don't need to, not ready for an agent, we'll let you know, that kind of stuff. So it would be illogical to ask in that context. What would make it logical, just write this down, to make a logical ask. Now, obviously, if somebody asks you for an appointment, that's a no-brainer. You don't need to ask them. If you have to ask them for an appointment, you want to make sure that one of these are present in the conversation before you make your ask. They have questions about their home's value. They have questions about the condition of their home or what to do to it. They have questions about the selling process. They want to make a plan for selling, or they're ready to start the process. You just need to make sure one of those is present in the conversation. Now, these by themselves could be questions that you ask, right? Hey, do you have questions about the value of your home? However, like Jeff at the car dealership, right? If you walk onto the lot and Jeff says, hey, do you have questions about your car's value? You're like, I feel like you're trying to get me to sell my car or trade it in, right? Jeff, not today, Jeff, not interested, Jeff. The question is too forward. So usually it's too forward. And you have to be a little more sneaky about it, how you get it in there, how you weave these concepts into the conversation. And we can teach you how to do that. The point is, don't make an ask unless one of these are present. Okay. You want to write this principle down. Get the prospect to demonstrate a need and then sell the solution to them. Get them to demonstrate a need, then sell the solution to them. AKA, do not write a prescription until you and the patient agree on the condition. Does that make sense, everybody? When you ask for a decision, an appointment, a meeting, a contract, an agreement, that is selling. You're selling somebody something. You're writing a prescription to them. You don't want to sell somebody something until they demonstrate a need for it or agree that they have a need for it. Does that make sense? Chat in yes if that makes sense. No more chatting? Is this helpful? Chat in yes if it's helpful. Make sure you guys are still awake out there. Or are you just feverishly writing notes? Okay, let's talk about readiness. What do I mean by readiness? I'm just going to give you levels of readiness here, and then we're going to talk about how to apply that stuff. Okay, so now, if you think about it this way, now would be, we know that everybody falls on a continuum, right? This is one of the things that a people first approach will teach you, and one of the things that will free you from the tyranny of leads, if that makes sense. And I'll explain what I mean by that. But everybody falls on a continuum, right? Obviously, there are those people who will never, can never buy or sell real estate. They're outliers. For the rest of us, most people during their lives, multiple times, will at some point buy or sell real estate. Every single person outside of those other ones. And so they all fall onto a continuum of being ready to do so. Now is pretty obvious. Let's just say that now is ready to sell in 30 days or less. They're ready to put the property on the market. Then we have the people who are soon, right? They're getting ready to sell, somewhere between 2 to 6 months. They're preparing, making plans, getting strategies, looking at things, possibly working on their home, getting advice, talking to friends, talking to vendors. Then you got later, not ready to sell 6 months plus. These people might be casually looking randomly, but they're not really talking to anybody about it. They're not really making plans. And then you've got takeaway, undecided or not ready, right? Undecided and not ready, or unknown. They don't even know whether they're going to sell or not. These are the kind of people where, let's say, they inherited a rental property, or they inherited something from a family member, or they're a reluctant landlord, right? It's not really killing them, but they don't feel like putting the work in to do anything about it. Those are the kind of people that are just, they don't know. They don't really care. So with each one of these, you have to approach them differently. And one of the things that I hear frequently when we're listening to calls, especially when students first start with us and we listen to their sales calls, which makes a massive difference, is that they just show up with the same close, the same ask, the same, why should you meet with me, as for all these different levels of people who are variously ready and not ready, right, on this spectrum, this continuum. And it doesn't work. That kind of language doesn't work for everybody. It's like me continuing to call those pharmacists with a crappy script, with a shallow script, and expecting different results. So you're not going to get those results here. So you have to change your language. You have to modify it. Let me give you some examples. Here are more immediate words, more immediate language for the now people, the ready to go people. Meeting, selling, game plan, strategy, active buyers, competing offers. Then we soften it. Soon, right? Getting ready. It'll be a couple of months. Take a look, advice, progress, preparation, positioning, get ready. And then we have farther down the road, 6 months out. You have to do a little bit of takeaway, right? Like cast it way far out there, or maybe it's not even right. Pre-planning, have time when you're ready, do overtime at some point. And then we have the totally undecided people, takeaway people. May not happen. Selling isn't best. Whenever that happens, way down the road, if at all. If at all is a fantastic statement. So you can see how this language changes, it softens, it's less immediate, it gets slower, softer, farther out, a little takeaway. You have to modify the way that you're talking to different levels of people based on their readiness. So here's the principle. Your language must match or mirror their level of readiness. Otherwise, the answer is no. And when I say mirror match, you want to try to match the words and phrases that they're saying to themselves in their head, right? Hey, you know what? I know you have a lot of time to get ready at this point. Most sellers find it to be most productive, or they get the best results if they invest this time in making a few updates to their home. And frequently they'll ask me if I can come by and give them advice on what repairs they can get a really great return of investment on and which ones they should overlook. I'm more than happy to do the same thing for you, probably take about 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how many questions you have. I can stop by on Wednesday or Thursday. Does that, you guys hear all of that? All that packed together, right? Is how you change, you position, you lessen, you throw it out there farther so that you can sort of massage what it is that you're offering to them. So it matches the things they're thinking in their head. I'm not ready yet. I need to, I want to get some things done before I do this. Okay, that will help you get more yeses to your appointment asks. All right, so here's secret number 2. How this people first approach works for anybody, especially agents who only work referrals. This is an important one. And, the funny thing is, one of the best agents that I ever hired and trained was this woman, Lauren, single mom. She was really nice, but she was pretty inexperienced when it came to sales. I think, she had maybe sold some gym memberships, but she was mostly like a customer service person. She wanted to make money. She wanted to support her daughter, wanted to get into real estate sales. So I said, okay. And at the time when we were doing screening, whenever I screen a salesperson to decide whether to hire them or not, I have I take a crappy script from one of the big box companies. And I just take one of those crappy linear scripts that they have where you just fire off of these questions and you're supposed to be like manipulating through people through something. I use that script for testing a candidate's sales skills because it's dead stupid simple for them to go through. And I want to see if they'll actually go through it and how they do with it. So I give the script to Lauren and she's going through it. But there's an important thing that I tell them, and this is part of the psychology of whether we hire salespeople or not. When I give them the script, when I'm testing somebody, I say, one, your goal is to set an appointment with me, which I can't tell them they have to close me or they fail. I tell them instead, hey, your goal is to set an appointment with me. And two, the only way you fail this exercise is if you let me off the phone before you get through all your questions. Now, I don't expect them to ask all the questions on the sheet. The whole point is that I told them the goal is to book an appointment. If they don't at least ask me once for an appointment, they don't have enough sales skill for me to hire them. That's the whole point. Don't tell anybody I told you that. Okay, so Lauren, the single mom, not much sales experience. I tell her the instructions. She starts going through the script, and I have built-in objections on my copy. I have, programmed in objections. So she's going through trying to get an appointment with me. I'm objecting to her, and she literally has no idea what to do. But I gave her the instructions that she had to ask all the questions. She literally just ignored all of my objections and went to the next question. It made no sense in the context of the conversation, right? And so literally she had so little experience that all she did was follow the instruction to not let me off the phone. And she went through, ignored every objection that I had, and then asked me for an appointment and closed me. And so I was like, okay, I got to hire you because you like, even though you didn't have experience, you had the balls to just keep going, even though it made no sense in the conversation. I'm like, I think I can work with this. So I took Lauren and she came in really, there's kind of these levels of sales experience that I've discovered. And the first level is totally inexperienced, where somebody says no to you or objects to you or wants to hang up and you just roll over and die. And you're like, okay, bye. Right? That was kind of the Lauren level where she just didn't even acknowledge the fact that I said anything and she was just going to avoid it. Then the next level up from that is, believe it or not, when you close. So somebody says no, tries to push you away, and you just close. Oh, well, can I send you listings? Can I put you on my list? Can I follow up with you later, right? Then the next level up from that is arguing. Like you're going to try to fight or argue or say, no, why, you should consider this. Why aren't you talking to an agent? Why wouldn't you use this agent? Why wouldn't you work with me? Why would you go work at a listing agent instead of me? Then the next level up from there, this is where we get into real mastery. This is where you're doing 36, 48, 60 transactions per year. When you use this kind of people first approach, you can get to a much more collaborative methodology to where it's not adversarial like that, and you're meeting every person as the individual, who they are, and you're having an authentic conversation with them, and you don't need to manipulate. You don't need to use any kind of, tricks necessarily. You can if you want, but you don't have to. And you can just feel comfortable having conversations with people. And so Lauren, who started out not being able to answer anything or even like deal with an objection, who just literally ignored it, went through, used this people first approach that I taught her. And over time, over the next few months, she got to the point where she was, doing 4 and 5 transactions per month. She was able to do 60 transactions in her first 12 months using this approach, this methodology, from a dead start, and just working an average mix of leads, right, that we all have access to. So it works for anybody. Anybody can apply this once you understand the principles. It's really simple. In fact, it's way simpler than any kind of real estate scripting or sales processes out there, because it's just based on how humans think, how we process, how we perceive. And so Lauren could understand that she was quick, man. She could pick it up from a dead start. So it works for anybody. And, when I said, especially for agents who only work referrals, it's fantastic for agents who only work referrals, because the kind of agents that work referrals are used to relationships. They're used to talking to people. And all you have to do is just mix in a couple of principles with that, and you get a much better result. So, whether or not you're working stranger business or not, it doesn't really matter. And this brings me to secret number 3 is how the people first approach frees you from expensive lead sources. So just real quick, and I want to get to telling you about our 12-week boot camp real quick and see if you guys are interested. But here's how it frees you from expensive lead sources. So, when I was first starting out and needing to like buy lead, I thought that I needed better leads. I thought the leads were the problem. I thought that I didn't have good enough leads. I thought somehow that there was just a perfect lead source out there. There had to be this tap of ready, willing, and able buyers and sellers. And I just had to find it and I had to buy them. And somehow I kept buying the wrong ones and I kept buying the bad ones. But here's what I've figured out after all of these years is that all of these leads, sure, you can buy Zillow Flex leads if you wanted to. They're very expensive. They're very far down the sales funnel already. But for the most part, everybody, every contact that you get, every prospect, every person that you run into is either a piece of business now or a future piece of business. So the way that you get freed from expensive lead sources is you take this people first approach, both with your sales skills, your spoken word, but you also bake it into your messaging campaigns, the way that you write text messages, the way that you write emails, the way that you write DMs, and then build it into your automation in the background. And with all of that together, it increases the number of responses that you get from these people. It incubates them better over time, which frankly, the portals that sell you the really expensive leads that are ready to go see a house, they're the same people. It's just they've been incubating them over a longer period of time. They've been getting them to come back to their platform over and over and over again until they're ready to go see a house or to talk about listing their home or get an offer on their home. You can do the same thing with your systems and with your messaging. So if you can improve your upfront conversational skills, professional people first sales scripting, bake that into your messaging campaigns, your emails, your text messages, you're going to get more people to interact with you. You're going to keep more people in front of you. And the more people you interact with, the more people you keep in front of you, the more people will send you referrals, repeat business, and will come to you when it's time to buy and sell real estate. So it helps you reduce the expensive fees that you have to pay in order to get more leads. Look at it this way. The better your skills become, the better your leads get magically. This is something I discovered, right? When I improved my skills, my leads got better. When I improved my skills, my messaging and my systems and my consistency, my leads got better. I converted more of them. I booked more appointments. I converted more appointments. I kept more contracts together. We can help you do that. Okay. All right, everybody, this is that time where I'm going to show you our 12-week bootcamp if you're interested. If you're not, I hope you got a ton out of this, but if you are, stick around. And I just have 2 questions for you if you're, to decide whether or not the bootcamp makes sense for you. If it does, we can have an outside conversation about this. But our 12-week People First Sales Bootcamp is for you if you can answer yes to both of these poll questions. I'm going to drop the poll for you. Here's the poll. Why can I not? How do I unlaunch the poll? There we go. Bear with me. Launch this poll. There we go. 2 questions. Basically, it's for you. If our system can guarantee that you double your weekly appointments, could you invest at least $125 a week in it? If you can answer yes to that. And if you believe that if you improved your sales skills and your consistency and your CRM process, how you work your leads, the messaging you're sending out, it would be enough to finally hit your financial goals. If you can say yes to both of those questions, you should jump onto a quick Zoom call with us and we can talk about how the 12-week bootcamp works, what's covered, and what you can expect from it. All right, so I dropped the poll with those 2 questions. Just answer those questions for me, and I will go to the next screen where you can grab a time on my schedule. So far, I have 1 person who answered the poll. So there should be a poll that popped up in front of you. If you can afford at least $125 a week, and if you believe that working on your sales skills, process, and consistency would help you achieve your goals, you'd be a right fit for our boot camp. Okay. I got 4 people answered the poll. Do you know where the poll is? Anybody having trouble with the poll? There should be polls and quizzes at the bottom of your control screen. If you click on that, it'll pop up and then you can answer the poll. Looks like we got several people who have answered. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys where you can book. Okay, for those of you who said yes to both of those questions, grab a time on my schedule here. You can just scan this QR code. We'll jump on a quick Zoom call. I'll talk to you about how the boot camp works, what the material is that we cover, which I've already started working on the frameworks with you here, how we deliver it, and what the experience is like and what you're going to result in after 12 weeks. So thanks for joining me today. I'm going to let you guys go. This is the end of the conversation. Hopefully you learned something from this webinar, and I'll see you guys in the next one.